Welcome back to another episode of the Shared Voices podcast from the 1042 Project. We are so blessed to have the guest that we have here today. I got Al Perez here. He's, as you guys know, we've been doing some nights out here with the recruits. We try to do once a week. With the schedule out here, it can be kind of hectic, but what a blessing to be able to just kind of come in and talk to some of the recruits and help equip them for their career. Going into this line of work is more than most people thought that they bit off, and being able to be here with them when they start their journey and to have a place to call home is pretty powerful. So I want to thank you, Al, because you were the first one that kind of called me and invited me in about 3 years ago or so, and I want to thank you for that. So we have Al and we have Kristi Traynor. She's the attorney out here, and I've got some good questions for her. And then the director of the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy is Brady Carney. Brady, thanks for having us, buddy.
You bet. Appreciate it.
Getting to know you over the last 3 years or so has been a blessing. I love that you're out here. I love your leadership out here. I love how much you care for our first responders. I get to see it every week. I love how much it's more than just academics here. It's more than just the physical, getting these people physically prepared. It's about getting mentally prepared. And I think you are you're standing out above everybody else. Let me put it that way. I don't want to talk about any other states or anything, but I think what you're doing here is special. Mm-hmm. I really do. And I think the team you have is special. So thank you for having us on. No, thank you for being on. And then, Brady, I kind of want to start with you. So somebody gets hired. A lot of our listeners, they get hired and they get told, okay, next step, you're getting hired and you're going to the police academy, right? And if you haven't seen the police academy movies from the 80s, you might not know how cool the academy is. Al, can you make those voices?
No.
No? All right.
No. This isn't Reno 9/11 or whatever that is.
But it could be a scary thing. I know when I got hired, I was 20 years old. Like, I'm a baby at that point. And of course, at that point in my life, I didn't feel like it. I'm superhero Dan, but looking back. So it could be intimidating. And there's so many of us that come here that are already married, that may already have kids. And I would say a majority of just people in general, we carry a lot of trauma coming into the line of work. And that untreated trauma from the past, for me, is a lot of my childhood stuff. If we don't address that before we get to the academy, then that stuff's going to linger with us. And if we can learn to process our trauma from the past, as you get into this line of work where you're exposed to trauma, you'll then be able to process trauma in a healthy way from the beginning. So many of us come into this field and we think we're just supposed to know how to do everything, how to be an officer, how to be a firefighter, EMT. But no person is meant to see as much trauma as we do in the first responder world. And we have to start talking about it because it's really affecting our families. And I love the fact that Brady is proactive here. So Brady, first of all, when did you start at the academy? Because I know you're here less than 5 years, right?
Correct. So prior to coming to the academy, I spent about 16 years with the Des Moines Police Department. And then I came out to the academy in March of 2023. So approximately 2.5 years now I've been at the academy.
Seems longer than that.
Yeah.
You've done a lot in a hurry.
Yeah, right? We've covered a lot of ground. I think we've made a lot of positive changes. There's always a big to-do list.
Yeah.
We'll keep working on that, but I think we've come a long way. I think we have a tremendous staff in place. I think, as I mentioned, we've made a lot of positive changes, and we have a unique opportunity here where we kind of operate in a 16-week cycle, 16 weeks at a time, and we try certain things. We try new things. And some of them work really well, and some we need to continue to adjust. And so we use the downtime, which is usually 1 week, which is very busy, filled with conversations, with ideas, with improvements. And then we run, another 16-week cycle and try to keep implementing those changes and improvements every single time we have a training cycle here.
I love that. Because you're not just saying this is the system, we're sticking to it. You're saying, hey team, let's make this better if we need to. Let's figure out what's working and not working. Let's not keep doing things that aren't working and adjust it. So you're constantly adjusting the dial on.
Yeah, even within a 16-week cycle, we might try something in week 2 or 3, and when we circle back to that, we pivot. We, change that up a little bit. So we're constantly evolving here. And I talk to the recruits very early on to tell them, I ask them what they've heard about the academy coming in here. And, that feedback and what they've heard is all across the board. But we're also very open with them that their experience is going to be a little bit different than everybody else's because we make continual changes. And there are little things and nuances that are different from even if they had friends or coworkers who were here the 16 weeks right before them. It's going to be a little bit different. And then depending on attitude, effort, friendships, relationships that are established here, each experience can be a little bit different. A class takes on a life of its own, and we have 2 classes here together. So each cycle takes on a little bit of life of its own. And so every 16-week cycle, the experience is a little bit different.
I've noticed that each class kind of has their own personality, which I think is kind of neat.
They do. So in any 16-week training cycle, we have anywhere between 65 and 90 recruits here. And we split the total number of recruits into 2 classes. And each class does take on a little bit different of a personality. Sometimes the people who are in each class are, one class might be comprised of those closest to the Des Moines Metro, and the other class is from the rest of the state, or the eastern half of the state and the western half of the state. We have people who are from 18 years old up to, I think, 51 since
Wow.
I've been here, age 51, coming through the academy. We have prior military, and we have some folks who this is their first job ever. And so there's a lot to take into account. We have people who are single, and we have people with young kids at home, grown kids at home. So there's a lot that goes into that mixing bowl or melting pot, if you will, for the persona of each class that comes through here.
That's amazing. So it's not just you. Obviously, you have a team of people. Are these decisions that are being moved, these fluid decisions that are being moved, is that something that you're pivoting on, or something you and your team meet on, or how do you guys decide how to pivot?
Sure. So there's a lot of conversations and consideration that go into the changes. One, there's a network. It's called IATLIS, the International Association of Directors of Law Enforcement Standards and Training, which I'm a member of. And they're a great organization where academy directors and other states talk about what they're doing and what works and what doesn't work, and changes they've implemented. And so they're a great sounding board for model standards and kind of what other people are doing. And so I take that information and try to tailor it to what we do here or what we need to do here. And our staff, we've really tried to create an environment where our staff can bring ideas and bring things forward. And our instructional staff has contact with the recruits on a daily basis. And so they're the ones who are providing not only the training and the instruction, but they also develop connections with the recruits, and they hear feedback, and they see things that work or don't work, or maybe things that we need to make changes to. And so I think our instructional staff does a tremendous job about bringing those ideas forward, and not only things that work or don't work, but ideas about how we can continually make things better. And so we talk about those. We have staff meetings, throughout the academy, and then just a lot of ongoing conversations, whether it's instructional techniques, conversations that we have, balancing nights out or challenges to navigating, this profession is really difficult. And the reality is some people, given their individual circumstances or maybe just the time, it's not right for them. And so trying to get everybody to a point where they're competent and can be safe, but also ensuring those who aren't quite ready yet, that can be a difficult balance.
Yeah, that has to be. Because at the end of the day, you're in the people business.
Correct.
Right, you're in the people business.
We are there to serve the public.
Yeah, so the recruits get hired. They come here for 16 weeks, and for some of you that may know or may not know, they stay here Monday through Friday. So it's not like the Des Moines Academy, they go home every day. The Iowa Law Enforcement Academy, because it covers the whole state, we have officers coming in from everywhere. They do stay here Monday through Friday. And sometimes that can be one of the hardest challenges it was for me when I went through 25 years ago, was being away from the family, being away from your support system, the ones you love most, the ones you can rely on when you're going through hard times. Well, you're at the academy, and it is fun, and it is, it's not hard, but sometimes you can have hard times. So your support system's taken away, and it can be tough. We're always looking at ways to try to battle that, right? Like, how can we help our recruits get through the academy where their marriages are healthy, where their friendships, are healthy, where their relationship with their department's healthy. We want to be able to, when they come here, to have kind of a pathway. Because when you come here, for me anyway, it was big time imposter syndrome. Like, you feel like you don't belong. And I found out since then, pretty much everybody that comes through here feels like that. So when you get here, sometimes the people you meet at first, the ones you get to hang out with, will dictate how you go through the academy, in my opinion. The people you choose to hang out with when you come to the academy, recruits, it matters. If your friends are going out and they're drinking or doing anything on their nights out that, you don't want to be around, don't be around it. You're here for 16 weeks. Just put all that stuff aside for 16 weeks because not just myself, but Al and everybody here at this table have unfortunately had to deal with police officers that don't make it through, that things have happened, and that's pretty hard, Al. Mm-hmm. Seeing that, it's heart crushing, and we're not here to judge the system. We're here to learn how to love the people better and make this a healthier way.
Yeah, let me just say this first, and it starts with great leadership. I think you said it best. Having Director Carney, with the long experience he's had, he's walked these footsteps where many of these young ones are walking through. And I often describe, when I look at his leadership, he has enough in his history. He's a bit old school, holds a strong, great standard, but then also he understands this new generation. Gen Z just thinks very different than when you think about a couple generations ago, mm-hmm. and how they handled their trauma. And so what makes, I think, and I appreciate him saying this, we're always looking for better ways, new modalities, new organizations. And he's allowed myself, you and others here to explore what those possibilities are,
yes,
what those resources are. He's never micromanaged. He's always like, okay, let's try this. And like he said, it's always different. Every academy is different, and you learn from the previous one, or a new organization steps to the plate and offers that. So I think it really starts with having a director that brings the best resources, individuals, and organizations accessible. Otherwise, we fail at it if we didn't have the liberties to do what we do here. So that's a hats off to him. In terms of just being able to empower the team, just to offer as many modalities as is needed here.
And again, we're not here to powder Brady and lift him up. We're not but he truly is doing an amazing job, and that's why I wanted to come and record here, because I see something different. I see something different in you than I see in a lot of leaders.
Well, I think you bring up some really good points about the challenges that I think we have to try to navigate. And a big part of that is that we are a residential academy, mm-hmm. and that recruits come here and they stay here, they live here, they completely invest themselves for 16 weeks. And that's not lost on me, what that means to their support system. There is no other way around it than it's difficult to do.
No other way.
We have some people here from Sioux City, Dubuque, Keokuk, Fremont County in Southwest Iowa. We also have people who live 10 minutes away, mm-hmm. Johnston, Ankeny, Polk City. And it's all the same. They're away from their families. They're away from their kids. They're away from home. Mm-hmm. They're away from their support system. They're away from what's comfortable to them, and they're here. And so, we talk about from day one, this is going to be hard work. Mm-hmm. It's going to be challenging. There are going to be things that are ups and downs. We also want them to connect with each other and have fun and ensure that this is a valuable experience for them. And part of that is building new connections, finding new people that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have talked to or connected with. And then giving the tools in the toolbox, tools on their tool belt, which can be communication, can be, de-escalation, can be firearms, can be use of force. It also can be life skills, wellness, resiliency, those sorts of things, helping build support systems if they don't have one in place already. If someone is young and single and never had a job before, not that they haven't experienced challenges in their life, but what they've had to overcome might be very different than someone who's had military experience, has went through having a family or financially supporting other people or separation or divorce. And so it is really, really hard to do one size fits all training.
Yeah.
And so we try to provide options. We try to provide resources in conjunction with very high quality training. And that takes a lot of people like you folks and what you're doing to provide resources, outlets, and options to people that can benefit them throughout their journey. And I think there's no better place to try to implement those things than here when people are starting.
Yeah, and that's the difference you make, Brady, is because I get phone calls from you saying, "Hey, I met this other organization. You should give them a call. You guys are you are not one who competes with people. You're there to help complete each other. And that's how we are. We can all help complete each other, and that's what I love about this organization. I love that that's what you've done from. It must have been from the day you got here because it was shortly. It was like 3 years ago.
It goes by so fast.
Right.
I'm like, wow.
And it was
time gone?
once you got hired, I think I was in here pretty quick and we were having conversations and I was blown away. I'm just going to be honest. When I first came here, I thought, oh man, I wonder how this is going to go. Yeah. I was, I came through in I think Gene Shepherd area, maybe, I don't know, a long time ago, 2000. And I don't know how it would go, but I came in here and I found somebody who's just a person, someone who cares. And I mean cares. So why do you care so much? Because you could really easily just factory these people, get them in, get them out. But you're in the hallways talking. You have a chaplain here who's doing things. You are going the extra mile. Why do you care so much?
That's a great question, and I don't know that I have a great answer for it.
That's okay.
I don't know. I've been there. I've done it. I'm still there. I think the value and the importance of what we do here at the Academy to represent the profession, to build people going into the profession, to serve the public is extremely important. We talk about it as a staff a lot. We're a small agency, small staff, small budget, but the importance of what we do is vast. And I think everybody expects us to be really, really good at what we do.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of investment. That takes a lot of really good people here. And I think it's a package deal. I think too much of the conversation has been about me and not enough about the people that we have here as part of the team. A big part of what I've tried to do is get really, really high quality people here who are good at what they do because they have such a big impact on day-to-day operations and the profession as a whole. And I think we have a tremendous staff in place who do a lot of really good work.
And that's what good leadership is, right? It's not about us being the greatest at every level. It's about, being able to lead and bring in the people who are called to work in those positions and allow them a healthy place to grow that. And I think that's pretty cool.
Speaking of which, with Director, speaking of high quality people, I've had some great conversations with our attorney that's here with us, Kristi Traynor. And just from her eyes, being able to see what she sees. And this is the other side sometimes, the difficult side that we're talking about. And so, Christy, I just have a couple of questions for you, just if you want to chime in here. Knowing what we just talked about, some of the things that our law enforcement struggle with, what are some of the things in your space that oftentimes you see that's difficult because of the role you hold as an attorney?
I think that law enforcement officers are under a lot of stress, right? I think that they do have very difficult jobs, and I think there's a lot of pressure on their shoulders. And that's one of the things that I have the opportunity to talk to recruits about when they're here, is that I think they come here and they have big, bright eyes, and there's a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and they do come with a little bit of background and a little bit of baggage sometimes. And they come into this profession meaning to do a lot of good in the world and in their communities. And I think that they have really big hearts, and that's a great thing. And one of the opportunities I have while they're here is to talk to them about their superhero capes. And that's kind of how I put it to them.
Let's hear it.
That's good.
You're here and you've got a superhero cape and it's tied really tight. And one of the things I want to talk to you about while you're here is how to keep that cape tied really tight. And these are the ethical obligations and rules that you have as a law enforcement officer to keep that cape tied on really tight. And that's what I like to talk to them about. Because one of the things that we teach our children is when you're in danger and you feel unsafe, one of the first people we teach our kids to run to is who? A police officer, right? And if we want to teach our kids to run to law enforcement officers and police officers when they're in danger, right, we want that superhero cape tied on really super tight. And that's one of the analogies I like to make for them. And when they run into the pressures that they run into when they're out working, like, you know, I'm making a stop and someone doesn't want a ticket and so they want to do something to get out of that ticket. How to get away from that pressure.
Right.
Or when I've had a really bad day on the job and I've seen something terrible, awful that I can't bleach out of my eyes, so I want to go to the bar and try to get rid of it that way.
Yeah.
How do I get out of that pressure, right? And those are maybe not the best ways to deal with those pressures. What other resources might we have? And that's where Chaplain Perez comes in, right?
Well, let me ask you this too. And when we talk about resource, what would you say are some of the predominant things you're seeing? I know we've had conversations around it when you've seen officers that unfortunately haven't been able to manage or maybe are afraid to look for a resource or seek it out or trust issues. What are some of the things I think you're seeing that are patterned, that are predominant in the struggle with first responders in our region?
A couple of our big issues are obviously alcohol issues,
Oh, yeah.
especially on the job or outside of the job, that weigh in on whether or not, you know, they can continue to have public trust. Inappropriate contact on the job with public citizens, even after citizens they've given citations to. Those are two of the big issues that we see.
Yeah, I think those two definitely stand out. Substance use, predominantly alcohol, whether it's, as Christy mentioned, off-duty conduct or on-duty conduct. You know, alcohol has a big influence and, you know, finds its way into a lot of different situations within the profession. You know, and that's something we navigate here as well. You know, I think a lot of these things we see on the front end during the basic academy about being a residential academy. When we grant Nights of Liberty or Nights Out, you know, a frequent place the recruits like to go is somewhere where they can consume alcohol. You know, and we hear the stories, we hear the feedback over the years, over the classes. You know, they find ways to try and get it in the building as well. And it just, you know, whether it's for common conversations or just that outlet, alcohol is a common one, not only in law enforcement, but public servants in general.
Yeah, it's kind of just more widely accepted. I mean, you can't go to the gas station without standing to the left a stack of bottles of alcohol. I mean, they're everywhere you go is alcohol. It's just accepted. So therefore, when it comes to numbing our pain, one of the easiest things to do, drink alcohol, because people a lot of times don't put a stigma on that. Like, he's just having a beer, calming down. But, you know, if he's doing something worse than that. And so many of us run to alcohol because it's not only ingrained in law enforcement, it's almost become like hey, the shift's over, let's go have a beer. We had a really bad call today. Let's go to Dave's house and play poker and get drunk. I mean, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, and I think you incorporate the challenges, the stressors, the ongoing trauma, the critical incidents that come up over time, you know, and it just has that compounding effect. And, you know, maybe what was a drink or a couple drinks becomes more, and what was a night a week becomes a couple nights a week. And pretty soon, you know, it's easy to stop and look around and then, holy cow, you know, we're having a lot of drinks every night. And then that's impacting life. That's impacting performance in the profession. And, you know, that just kind of continual erosion, you know, and pretty soon you don't have the support system. And then you've lost your family. And, you know, then something bad happens that impacts your ability to be or remain in the profession. And it's just, you know, I look at it as like continual erosion, you know, and if you just don't have the ability to recognize where you're at or the resources or the support around you, you erode long enough and pretty soon you don't have anything. and that happens.
And I don't mean this to sound heartless, listeners, so please don't think that, but sometimes when people come to the academy, they don't make it through the academy, but sometimes this is the Brady talking, this is me talking. So this is the academy talking, this is me. Sometimes it's a good thing, because if you can't get through these 16 weeks at the academy, it's going to be pretty tough to get through 12-hour days, 7-day stretches, overtime, plus court, plus dealing with your kids' ball games, your wife. It can be hard. So not everybody that comes to the academy makes it, but most of them do. We don't lose a lot of them, I don't think. But at the same time, it can sometimes be a good thing, because we want to weed some of that out. But we can also see some of those issues, and we can address them, and we can deal with them here at the academy, so that doesn't carry on to their career.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We do see those things come to light here, and we try to address what we can. And some are deal breakers, right? Some that's the reality of it. Some just are. Some people realize on their own during their time here that this just isn't for them. And sometimes that's in week, that's day 2. Sometimes it's week 2, and sometimes it's week 15. Again, all shapes and sizes, things look differently. And some people realize that on their own, and other times it's through, conduct or activities or additional training to what this profession looks like. But I think you bring up a really good point. It is not for everybody. And I tell them, that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
That is okay.
Yeah.
And maybe it's for them, just not right now.
Yeah, and thanks for trying. Like, what a bold move.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting, the conversations that happen. Some people will say, I thought I'd try it and just see what happens. And then I realized, oh man, this is a lot different than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Or I realize I need structure in my daily life or my schedule or holidays and weekends, overnights. People figure out that they don't like all the risk that come with the job.
And that's okay.
That is completely okay.
Yeah, we love them. We'll pray for you as you go. Like, that's great. That doesn't mean you're a weak person. That doesn't mean that you're a lesser anything.
Correct.
Like, you're trying out a new field that you've never tried. Just like anything. I went and tried to sell cars after law enforcement. I did it for a year. I didn't like it. I got out of it.
And I think
that's okay.
That is part of what we're here for as a basic academy, is to help people understand those things.
Yeah.
Some people get here and they're kind of, almost ho-hum, and then they love it. They completely buy in. They go through the training, they see things at work, and they just are absolutely all in. And that's the other side of it. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
And then the people who realize, I tried it and this isn't for me. All of that is okay.
Yep. You're not going to be shamed out of here. You're not going to be laughed at. Like, no, thank you for giving that an opportunity. But Al and Christy, what happens when we take somebody we don't know and we apply pressure to them? It's like a fruit. When you apply pressure, you kind of see what's inside of it. So sometimes here at the academy, you're going to be under pressure. And I think that's when people start to reveal themselves, or they start to realize the pressure and the weight of the job. So sometimes when people come here, it's just they haven't been under this much pressure to expose some of this stuff in their past. What do you guys see when it comes to that? When somebody comes here, Christy, we all put on a face when we come here. I'm sure you all know that. We put on the biggest face for all of you guys because we're all squared away and perfect. But then when we come here, you start to see us under pressure. We're staying here day after day. We have tests. We have these things. And people start to crack. So when we start applying pressure to people, what generally happens with that? And where am I trying to go with that, Al? Help me with that.
Well, I was thinking this.
Because sometimes we just don't know what we have in us until we have pressure on us.
Well, and like the director was saying a little bit earlier, there isn't a one-size-fits-all. This academy moves quickly, unlike a department that has peer support and has familiar building trust here every 16 weeks with different faces. That takes time as well, but it moves quickly.
Yeah.
And we, director, right off the cuff, the beginning of the academy, will address those issues head on to be mindful of the blind spots. And that's always good proactively coming in, because that face is on and everybody doesn't know everybody. It's like high school or college, your first day. But eventually those things come to surface. And, obviously, having done this several times, director, assistant director, and much of the staff are well aware that, they're available to help and talk to as well. I'm not the only person here. But again, we're not going to see, as you said earlier, in 16 weeks, you can suppress things. Like, for instance, we've had students here who've lost a loved one or lost a family or lost someone dear. Well, we know the well, it depends on what model you're looking at. If you're looking at a 5-point or 7-point grief cycle, the biggest concern I have oftentimes is our environment moves. It has expectations, and they may not always, they have to almost shelf one of those processes until they're able to fully deal with it here and stay focused. And as the director said, it's one of the sacrifices and hard expectations of the job, because we can't grieve like everybody. You know, law enforcement, unfortunately, oftentimes are not able to handle a grief, and we think time heals all wounds, but then ultimately anger surfaces later. I know director has seen it when we've seen our own fall, when we've seen others fall in. It's a really hard thing to do. And I think in this profession, and again, I'm not the expert to speak to this, but eventually you learn how, like public figures that recognize I've got to compartmentalize and focus on what my responsibility is, and then deal with something later, but making sure we have our people. The biggest thing for you and I, and I'm curious with this, Christy, because this has been going through my mind, and I think you and I are in the redemption business. What brings balance in what you and I do is, like, you know, there are many times I've sat with director, and there's been a situation that's been here. And my heart is, I speak from heart first before sometimes head, and knowing those things. And so it's been a really helpful way to help me process. Directors help me kind of process, like, okay, hey, it's good to have heart, but we also have to think about, you know, the implications and what this could happen and these different things. And so always when I think about an officer that may be struggling or a recruit, it's not just feeling sorry for wrong actions. There are consequences and things. You and I in the redemption business try to focus on that sometimes. Christy, I have a question I wanted to ask you. Knowing you,
I got a whole podcast to ask her questions.
Oh, yeah,
But
I
keep
got
going.
a real
Go
quick
ahead.
question to ask you. I'm telling you, because we are in that space, there's listeners listening to this and say, okay, I blew it. I'm out of it. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. How does one get back? Because you have people coming to you. I've had people coming, okay, I want to get back in. And like, oh no, it doesn't work that way, bud. 2 months later, 3 months later, you're not hopping back in here that quick. But what happens when you see the redemption process, when we see some of that kind of stuff happen?
Well, it depends on where it started from, right?
Yeah.
And there's not always a quick answer or a quick fix. But I would say the biggest step is owning your behavior.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to own that behavior, and you've got to take responsibility for that behavior regardless of what it was. And I would say that's always going to be the first step. And this isn't a situation where you can fake it till you make it, right? You've got to truly own it and take responsibility for it, and you've got to mean that. And I would always say that actions speak louder than words when it comes to past bad conduct. And you've got to be able to, especially if you're in a situation where the counsel's been involved and your certification is on the line, or there's been some sort of sanction with respect to your certification, I think we're talking about having to show by actions, specifically to the council, that you mean what you say, right?
Yeah, we're pretty good at blowing smoke up your butts.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we need to.
Yeah.
I mean-
I think it's your actions.
Yeah, it's
That-
the fruits. Yeah, the
Yep.
fruits of the lifestyle, right? Are they making changes? Because we are really good, especially as men, to struggle with that. I lost my train of thought there, but that's okay. I do that a lot. But before we close this out, I really want to end, because I want this to be this is positive. I want this to end on a very positive note. Like, if you're coming to the academy, first of all, be pumped, be excited. Welcome to the career. What a journey. Know you're not alone. And I know it can be sometimes scary and overwhelming, but no, we're here. We're here for you. Our ambassadors are. If you have questions about the academy coming in, if you and your wife or you and your spouse want to talk and sit down with one of our ambassadors or myself to kind of talk about what it's like to go through the academy, have a healthy marriage through it, have a healthy relationship, reach out to us. We would love to sit down and have a conversation with you. We don't have all the answers. We may not always be right, but we promise we'll be real. But reach out to us, because you've never gone through this, so give yourself some grace. as the spouse at home, you've never gone through your spouse being away for 16 weeks and starting in this new line of work, and there's a lot of changes. Give yourself some grace. You're going through a lot, and you weren't meant to carry this alone. You weren't meant to chainsaw your way through the timber to get through there. It's not that. The path's been laid. Reach out. We have a whole group of people that want to walk alongside you, help you, to where you don't have to reinvent the wheel on having a healthy first responder career. So reach out to us. This academy thing's a lot of fun. They do get so you're here for 16 weeks, but Brady, they do get nights out, depending on certain factors, but they do get nights out a few weeks into the academy. Is that correct?
Correct. We determine as a staff, and ultimately I make the decision when they get nights out. And sometimes that varies by class or varies by training cycle. Okay. It's something that we like to give. We know it provides them an outlet. We know it lets them get away, but there's also expectations and standards that need to be met on a regular basis to earn that liberty. And we talk about it. Nights out are earned.
Yeah.
And so there are benchmarks that have to be met individually and as a group, and then we allow for that to happen. And I think it's a good thing. I really wrestle with that because I know, the outlet and the connections that can be made when those things happen. We just have to ensure that everybody's in a good place first.
Okay. So if you're a spouse and your spouse is coming here, how can they stay connected to their spouse while they're at the academy? Do you guys allow video calls? Can they Zoom each other? Are there certain hours? Like how can we help foster that?
So typically the training day is from 7:30 to roughly 5. Most of the time the recruits are dismissed from training to eat dinner around 5 o'clock. And if there is not scheduled nighttime training, evening or nighttime training, then most of the time their evening is on their own.
Okay.
Now they're here on Camp Dodge or at the academy. But some people can visit the base. They obviously have, we're not taking their cell phones away, or, they have the ability to communicate. They can video call, those sorts of things in the evening. I think one of the things we've really tried to improve for just awareness, not only to the community, but to families, follow our social media pages where we're providing regular updates with what's going on here at the academy. And that's a great way for people to stay in touch as well.
I love those updates, by the way. I look at every one of them. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's been exciting. I think
I like the pepper spray ones.
Everybody does, except for the recruits in the moment. Yeah. But typically they enjoy the footage afterwards as well.
Can a spouse come and be the one who sprays the other spouse with the pepper spray, or no?
I'll leave that to the next director.
Yeah, it doesn't help the relationship. Yeah.
That's great. So once you're here, you get a couple nights out. This campus is very big. The building is, and in Camp Dodge, mm-hmm. There's a gym here. They can go down, and there's places here. What are they called? A PX? I forget what it's called.
Yeah, we have a gym here in the building. Then there's the wellness center in Camp Dodge. General Osborne and his staff are great to allow the recruits to use that facility on an ongoing basis, even outside training. PX, which is a military installation version of a convenience store.
Yeah,
the recruits can go there. And then, when we grant the nights out, then the recruits get to go off the base to their destination of choice.
Okay. And on those nights, the spouses can come too.
Absolutely.
Even if you live in Sioux City, if you want to come see your spouse, on those nights out, we encourage that.
Correct.
Like on your nights out, I know Al does. We encourage, if you have family close by, go see your family or have them come see you. Honestly, it's better to go see them because you get out of here.
Yeah, and we've had all sorts of things. People, recruits will go as a group to Topgolf or go bowling or go out to eat. We've had some classes where recruits who live locally, the class will go over to the recruit's house on their nights out for dinner or play backyard games. Again, each cycle and each class kind of takes on a life of its own to develop, what they want to do for connections and camaraderie.
Okay, so I'm hearing every night at Brady's house we're going to have a get together. No, I'm just kidding.
Scratch that.
Yeah. But it's not a prison here. It's just you just got to be here, and that's the hardest part for me was just being here. And what's funny is it feels like it takes forever, but once you're out of here, it's a sense of pride and it's a sense of freedom. And you know that it's just a one-time thing. You just got to do it one time in your career, and you'll get through it. And this academy, it is whatever you make of it. It is totally up to you how you make it. Yes, it's not up. It's not the staff. It's not anybody else. It's up to the first responder who comes through here to be accountable and to show up and get through this. And I know it can be hard. That's why you don't have to do it alone. So thank you guys. I've got like 1,000 other things I want to ask, but we can do more of these down the road or whenever. But I want to thank you for the time to just come in and kind of ask. Oh, I want to ask one more question, and you can like say, "Shut up, dude," and that's fine. Will there ever be a time in the future where we do look at locals being able to go home on a night-to-night basis, or is it more just we lose too many of them if we do that? Like,
So I think that's a conversation to have, and I've had those conversations with some recruits. I've had those conversations with chiefs and sheriffs about what does that look like, and is it just about distance or is it about agency desire? Because I think it's really hard to say, if you live within 20 miles here, you can go home, but everybody else have to stay. I think lodging becomes part of it. If people don't have to stay here, but they're from Sioux City, well, where are they staying?
right?
I don't think people want to pay for a hotel room
No.
for 16 weeks. So that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
And is it something that we open up? Things that I've thought about is maybe we have a standards checklist where once you meet all of these standards, then you would be eligible to have the option to not have to stay here or something like that. But I think there's also, yes, I think that's a conversation that I've had. Again, a one-size-fits-all is really hard to navigate.
That's tough, man.
To try to come up with what that could or should look like.
Yeah.
But the flip side is, and what we try to focus on are the positives and the reasons why there's a lot of value to residential academies. And the profession is small. It's a small circle even across the entire state. And to get to know people and build relationships and the value of networking and spending time and the challenges that come with dealing with and interacting with and living with people who aren't just like you is a lot of benefit to public servants. And so, that's a conversation we continually wrestle with, and we try to get all the value we can out of how things are currently set up.
Yeah, that's got to be tough, man. That's a lot to weigh, and it really is, because then it's like you're going to be unfair to some people, but at the same time, like you said, I mean, and really, your guys' schedule is so full here. You don't really have time to go home. I mean, but if you drove home anyway, if you drove 45 minutes away, by the time you got home, you'd be going to bed, getting right back up the next morning. So something about being able to stay here is kind of a safety net too.
Yeah, it would have to be very fluid because our schedule changes. We have things
All the
mapped
time.
out, and then, the weather doesn't cooperate or space or training availability changes. And so we have to pivot. And so you might plan on going home or having a night out on Wednesday night, and, that night is filled with training now. And I think the other thing we try to do is we want to make training realistic of what people are getting into. And the majority is probably half of our folks are going to work evenings or overnights. And so I think it's important that we do evening and nighttime training as well. And so some of our nights are filled with training to be reflective of what people are going to face in the field when they leave here.
That's wise. Well, thank you, Brady, and thank you to your team for allowing us in. I really appreciate it. I love your guys' heart here. Please know we're an ally. We are people person. We are here to help the responders and their families, and I love that you guys allow us to come in and talk, and thank you for that. But we're going to close out this episode. I will have them on. We'll see if one of them will stick around to do another one, but we'll see. But if not, we're going to have them on again down the road. It's a great relationship we have, and I truly enjoy it. And I'm glad you guys got to hear the heart of not just Brady, but his team. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.